This is the video for my final presentation Mech 4007 class on my Model A build. Here's the completed engine. You can see the new two-blade aluminum cast fan. It replaces the originals that are known to come apart and fly through your hood due to fatigue. You can see the control rods, those silver rods linking the steering column, one to the distributor for advancing and retarding spark for starting and higher RPMs, and the other goes to the throttle linkage for acting as a cruise control and helping you can raise the throttle when you start it. It has brand new rubber red rad hoses on. Those were just optional. It's what the distributor had. There's a cutout on the generator, that cylinder. It tells the generator when to stop feeding back to the battery. This is the lower rad hose. It's steel pipe. You can see the pitting on it. I ended up replacing this pipe because I couldn't get it to seal properly. It kept leaking. And I replaced it with a brand new powder-coated pipe that has flanges on either end, which help to seal it, which they work perfectly. And it's little 1/8 inch pipe thread brass valve there. I lapped it with valve grinding compound to make sure it would seal. These are the brand new hoses with the original Ford style hose clamps. They don't work as well as the modern worm gear type, so they're a bit more picky. This is the Greek Titan Atlas holding up the powerhouse that is 40 horsepower at 2200 RPM Model A engine, condemned to carry the heavens. These are the Gland Rings. They're another method of preventing exhaust leaks. You can see they're just thin sheet metal rings, and they index between the manifold and the engine block. And they, I had to measure, you'll see here, this is the gap between the gasket, the manifold, and you have to put it on without the gland, or with the gland rings without a gasket. Make sure it's not too thick so that when you torque it on, it doesn't break the ears off the manifold. Here, it's perfect. I don't have to grind down the rings. This is the installed manifold. Heat-resistant paint on the exhaust part. You can see it's silver in the intake. That little standard screw plug is where you'd plumb a vacuum line that would run the original windshield wipers by Manifold vacuum. You can see I also used brass nuts on the manifold studs. I've had good luck with these on different vehicles in the past with not seizing. Steel on steel tends to rust, the brass won't. These are brand new emergency brakes. I had to replace these pads and all the linkage. You can see the horseshoe link goes to the actuating arm. They were absent when I got the car, not sure why. So these are all brand new with the cotter pins. You can see the axle needs a bit of cleaning up on the wear surface where the rear bearing should go, but that's for a future project. It's brand new woven pads with brass rivets to hold it on. This is greasing the throwout bearing shaft and also greasing the water pump. The front is a standard needle bearing, normal grease, and the rear was originally for water pump grease, go in the packing nuts, but I replaced it with an O-ring seal, so I'm just using standard grease. I don't need the lead packing. This is a temporary hold setup for a seat for the first test runs. Here you can see I hosed it down, cleaned it up, ready to go on a first test run. And it has a Ford Taurus seat, so about 90 years off in age, 80 years, but at least it's Ford. This is the distributor. I made sure that the control arm is all the way up, which means it's set to fire after top dead center. It's retarded spark. So that's why I'm comfortable with using the hand crank. You'll hear old stories of guys not retarding the spark, and it'll fire before top dead center. And the ratchet mechanism that engages the hand crank will grab that ratchet handle and can kick back and break your forearm. There you go. You can start, put the throttle down a bit. You can advance the spark once it's started. Running. The momentum carries it through, more efficient. Very simple 3-speed gearbox. To the left and up is reverse. I have to mention that my brakes on the floor are currently only engaged. The rods are only connected to the front because the back I need a bit more work. But the emergency brake works very well. It's also a bit difficult here because steering, normally your steering column is supported by the cab. I don't have a cab, so when I pull or push the steering wheel, it can raise the throttle by mistake, so that ended up with me getting stuck in the mud. So here's the first point of view video of the drive. Hope you enjoyed watching.